Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back. My name is Wura, and I'm a social worker. We're going to be recapping, in order to start, we'll recap on what we talked about 2 weeks ago. I hope we're all keeping safe and keeping well. So last 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the well-being wheel, and we started with SHINARI, which is the acronyms for the well-being wheel. And on the SHINARI, we're talking about the S. So that's a first alphabet. And the S stands for safety. So just a quick recap. So we just had like a general overview of what we mean by safety. And the general overview is knowing and acknowledging that a child has a right to be protected away from harm. Then we also looked at, we talked about what we mean by safety, or what we mean by being safe. So we looked at what we mean by being safe in our community. We just talked about it, basically rushed through it. What it means about being safe in our community, being safe in school, being safe, just generally what it means for a child to be safe. Then we also talked about those who are responsible for who is being safe. And if we all remember, I said everybody is responsible for the safety of the child. Then also, we quickly rushed through looking at what it means in our own community, what we mean by safety. So today, not just to bore you, because I know we only have an hour for this, I'm going to go deeper. And this time around, we'll be talking about being safe within the community. So looking at how we can enable our children to be safe within our community. Now, when I say our community, obviously I'm talking of African community, because we are Africans, right? So I think it's only fair that we have that conversation within our own community. So when we talk about safe, it's funny because on the chart on the well-being chart, safe comes with red, and that's where the whole concerns usually starts from, right? So within our community, obviously we're here living in Scotland. I'm going to be referring to Scotland because that's where most of the audience are. So in Scotland, obviously it's not like what we used to do back at home. We Africans, we have a communal parenting style. And when I say communal, we have this slogan: it takes a village to raise a child. So in the African setting, or in the African community, or even back at home, when I say back at home, I'm referring back to our countries, or our home countries, or our countries of origin, like we would like to say it. So when we say it takes a village to raise a child, it means, we have the neighbors involved in looking after the child. Every adult is responsible for the child. It could be a teacher, it could be the doctor, it could be the faith leader, it could just be anybody, because that's how we raise our children. And when for African community, and even when we migrate to a different country, like we are now in Scotland, it's just natural, like in our church, everybody is responsible for caring for the children. In the mosque, everybody's responsible. In our community, when we see our children, when we see children within our community, it's easier for us to chastise the child and or correct the child. So it's just a culture that we have, which has worked for us. I'm not saying it's the best. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's wrong, because when we look at it, in everything, there's a good or wrong, or there's a good and a bad, to everything that we do. It doesn't necessarily mean that, because we do it that way makes it right, and because the host community do it the other way, it makes it right. It's just being able to balance things. So for us as Africans, we need to, I'm going to be talking about how we can make our children safe, right, within our own community. And when I'm saying community, I'm talking of this community, so Scotland precisely. So as Africans, I touched a little bit about our religious bodies, like a religious place of worship. So, for instance, one of the ways that we can make our children, that we can ensure that our children are safe in our religious setting is, first and foremost, everybody who has a responsibility of care in the church. So in this case, I will be talking about those who probably lead the children's classes. I know some people will call it Sunday school, some people call it children's crèche, some people will call it the play group. We call it different names in our different religious setting. Now, anybody who is involved in that, by law, that person actually needs to do a PVG. So that's a protected vulnerable group disclosure. Now, I remember in the past it used to be called Disclosure Scotland. It's still the same thing. It's just that it has a different name, obviously. So So a protected vulnerable group disclosure allows, so there are two types of disclosure. There is a basic disclosure and there's enhanced disclosure. I'm sure some of us know, but for those who don't understand what we're saying, I'll draw a mind. So the basic disclosure just gives like just a name. If there's any record of crime, it will flag up, and yeah, the year that the crime was committed, and that is it, right? Or if there's nothing, it will just say there's nothing. But that kind of disclosure is just a basic one, just like what it says, basic disclosure. However, and I think that kind of disclosure could go for like maybe, if we just want to use it just for something basic, and we're not having that responsibility of looking after the vulnerable group, and which in this case, if we're talking about vulnerable group, we'll be looking at children because children are classed as vulnerable. Now, they're vulnerable because the assumption or the view is children do not have a sense of responsibility. And when I say that, I mean like sense of responsibility when it comes to like making life choices or making life changing decisions. So for instance, if a child trusts an adult so well, it's easy for that child to just say, oh, okay, yeah, uncle or auntie says I should come and I will just go, right? Or they give, children are quite innocent in the way they look and think about life. But so on that kind of case, if anybody's going to be working with children or looking after children, it could even be for like maybe 30 minutes, whatever time. In the religious setting, it is important that that person or the people who are responsible for caring for the children in the children's class or in the crèche or playgroup, whatever it is that is called within your religious body, that those people who have been identified by law, they should be doing enhanced disclosure. Now, enhanced disclosure means that one, they're able to check them thoroughly. So whereby they're able to identify through the disclosure system, obviously, they will check that, this person has not committed a crime, or even if they've committed a crime or they have criminal convictions, right? Like what we would normally say. If they have criminal convictions, what is the impact of that on vulnerable group? In some disclosure for those who have criminal convictions, for those who have convictions, in the Scottish system, I don't know of the English, but in the Scottish system, I know that if somebody has got a conviction, they would write it underneath there and say, they will either say this person is barred from working with vulnerable group, or they would say this person is not barred from working with vulnerable group. So it's up to the system to decide, right, who is bad and who is not bad. But obviously, I think as a parent, I feel if people who are looking after my children, right, if they have enhanced disclosure, it gives my child safety, right? It minimizes the risk around the child. So for instance, like in our religious body, for instance, ideally a pastor or a religious faith leader should have done enhanced disclosure. Now, what that does is, because let's remember, in our religious bodies, we have very vulnerable adults and we have vulnerable children, and it only gives peace of mind to know that even if anything goes wrong, right? Let's say, for instance, there's an investigation or maybe child abuse or something, we can easily know that or proudly say that at least the pastor and those who are handling children, they've been able to they've gone through the disclosure system. Now, through that disclosure system, for people who are handling children and anybody working with vulnerable group of people with children come under, usually their disclosure is renewed every year, right? So it's done every 12 months. Usually it's an automatic thing whereby it's done through the HR. But I suppose in the religious group is I mean, it depends on how the church work, but whoever is in charge of HR, that is the duty of that person or that department to ensure that everybody has done disclosure. So as a parent, of course, in order to ensure that your children are safe, it's always important to ask questions around there's no harm asking in your religious bodies, oh, my child is going to be in the crèche. I want to know, the teachers in the crèche, have they done disclosure? And they shouldn't be doing basic disclosure. It should be enhanced disclosure, because they're working with vulnerable group of people, vulnerable children. Now, also, if you're a nanny, so I mean, if you're a childminder, like we'll call it here. So if you're a childminder, it is advised that the childminder has done a disclosure and enhanced PVG, like we'll call it here. And again, it's all to ensure safety. And the group of people who are required to do enhanced disclosure, so social workers like myself would do enhanced disclosure. Usually, childminders, they will do enhanced disclosure. And the police, just the group of people that we work with, like teachers and stuff. But in this case, coming back to children, we also need to look at, if somebody has done enhanced disclosure and they're working around and they're working with your children, there's a big relief that at least you know that your children are in a safe place. But then when whoever is working with the children, that person has not done a disclosure, it raises concerns, in the sense that we don't know, we all see ourselves and stuff, but we also need to ensure that, because when something goes wrong, we can't turn around and say we don't know, right? So as a parent, it's important, because that's what the law in the land says. It's important that whoever is handling your child, aside from the father and the mother, right? Aside from you, who is the father and the mother of the child, or the grandparents of the children, whoever is in care of your child, it's very important that you ensure that that person there's a PVG, enhanced PVG on that person, because so there is an enhanced PVG, on that person. So I'll take a break, and I'll come back to you in the next 3 minutes. Right. Yeah. So, welcome back. So, like I was saying, we've looked at the enhanced disclosure. I'm not going to bore you with it, because I'm sure a lot of us know what PVG is. Now, still on safety, sometimes as Africans, because again, it's our culture, whereby we can leave our children, some of us will leave our children with our friends, right? Now, when we look at safety, it's important that you know the environment that you're leaving your child. So say, for instance, if you're leaving your child in a house, or in a house with a stranger, it's very important that that you find out, it's very important that the person you're leaving your child with knows that your child does not have allergies, or if they have allergies to food, what is that allergy? What can that allergy cause? Because there are some children, they are allergic to lactose. Some are allergic to dairy product. It's always important. And I'm sure those of us that have children in schools, or when maybe our kids are going to youth camps or children's camp, or, away day, they would ask questions. School, usually, I'm sure a lot of us knows that, like schools or nurseries, they will send out a form wanting you to fill to find out, if your children have allergy. If they have, then, you disclose it. If they don't, you disclose it as well. That's all part of safety. I know, don't let us make assumption, because a lot of us probably don't even know that our kids have got allergies until something goes wrong, right? So, but understanding that your children have got allergy obviously shows that you're keeping your child safe, because it means that, say for instance, that child has got allergy to lactose. It means when you're giving your getting someone to look after your child for you. Maybe because you're going to work, or because, just like what we do, maybe we're going to work or want to go to the market. In this case, obviously in the UK, it's more of maybe we're going to the supermarket to do our shopping, or we are going for like maybe we're going for a job interview, for instance. Would and we can't take our children with us. So whoever we're leaving our children with, is important that they have those basic information that keeps our children safe. Then also, again, if like within our household, like those of us who have houses, or even flats, when the kids are playing, how safe is a play environment for that child? Is this child safe? Children sometimes children could be quite adventurous, because that's who they are. They always want to discover their environment. So, ensuring that if there's gaps between your banisters, or the banisters, I don't know how to call it differently. So if there's gaps between your banisters, is ensuring that that place is safe, whereby your children cannot stick their head in there. Children would, no matter how safe you want to keep the environment, children will always be children. But at the same time, as an adult, because is your duty, right, to ensure that this child is safe, it's always important that you keep an eye on your child, right? You always because by keeping an eye on the child, you can even tell maybe there's something not right about the child. So when I say something not right, because sometimes some children, they're a bit hyperactive, right? Some children, maybe because of their health diagnosis, or because of their health concerns, right? It could be that they do not act like maybe a normal child would act. So for instance, a child with autism or a child with ADHD, I mean, when we get into health, we'll probably talk more about that, right? But a child with learning disability or physical disability, that child might not know the difference between this place is safe for me or this place is not safe for me. And like every other thing, like most parents, having children is always our duty. You yourself, you can tell that, with kids, we always need to keep an eye on our children 24/7, right? So because of that, it's always important that we look around our household, ensuring that wherever this child is going to be playing, that place is a safe place for the child. Also, we need to also, like your kitchens, you could put like, I know some of these things are maybe some things that people do anyway, because I wouldn't say that people don't know what they're doing. So it could just be that maybe you just put like a child lock, like your fridge, there could be child lock, like the cookers, there could be child lock, microwave, there could be child lock, just little things like that to ensure that the child is safe. Then also, like when your children are going to school, it's very important as parents, which some of us might be doing anyway, but as parents, coming back to safety, it's very important that we know the routes our children use in going to school. Because some children, usually when they're between the age of 10, 11, their parents allow them to walk to school if it's not far away. So it could be that maybe they're working in company of their friends, or maybe they're working in company of their other siblings, right? So it's very important that we teach these children the safety rules, whereby, maybe they are going, instead of walking in the tunnels, like right now in the UK, we have the darker night because it's a winter period. So we have longer nights and shorter days. So what I mean by that, obviously, I know I'm just reinforcing what it is, but what it means is the weather gets dark very fast, right, during the day. And then at nighttime, before you close your eyes and open it, it's bright again, right? So it's shorter night, it's shorter days, but very long night. So sometimes around about maybe 4:35, the weather has become very, very dark. And by say 6 o'clock, the weather is very, very bright. 6 a.m. in the morning is bright. So on that case, maybe for instance, maybe there's a tunnel. Instead of having those children walk through the tunnel, as a parent, because you want to ensure that your child is safe, you are ensuring that these children have got maybe the safety, we have like safety vest, like the yellow and I think silver vest on, just little things. I'm sure a lot of us know that. Like when they're going to play in the park, it's very important that, we keep an eye and put those vests on them just to make sure that they're safe. Then also, I know some of us, right? Let's be honest ourselves. As Africans community, we trust ourselves. because we are coming from a community where there is a trust that every adult, is responsible and will care for our children, right? Because that's our culture. Our culture is a culture of trust, okay? And because we are quite communal in the way we go about life, so it's very important that if you're leaving your child with any adult or any trusted person, maybe your friend, your friend's friend, just whoever it is, if you're leaving your child with anybody, it's very important that you know who you're leaving your child with, right? You also understand the household you're leaving your child with. Because really, say you have a very settled household, and then you're leaving your child in a home where maybe with a friend's home, where maybe there's abuse going on. For instance, it could be maybe mom and dad of that particular home front of that household that you're leaving your children. Maybe they're trading words, and in this case, I'm talking of maybe they're saying things that is not appropriate to themselves, or maybe they watch inappropriate kind of movie. Children, they're like sponge. Whatever it is that they see, they replicate it. So they'll soak it in and replicate it. So it's very important that we keep an eye on the home the children are going to. So if they're going to stay with your friends, who is in that household? Where are those children sleeping? Right? And if you're keeping I know in as much as we're very, very careful on who we leave our children with, at the same time, we also need to be mindful that children most times when things go wrong or when there's abuse going on, is usually someone that child trusts that strikes, right? So it's very important that we understand, like some of us we allow our children go do sleepovers, right? So it's important to know I know this family, but who are the children in the household? Do the children behave appropriately? So because if things go wrong, you can't turn around and say, I don't know. Because I don't know it means you're not being responsible. So it's very important that if these children are doing sleepover, say for instance, like a female child, if that female child is doing sleepover, as a parent, it's always right that you ensure that your child is sleeping in the same room as a female child in that household, right? And exactly the same thing. For me, as a parent, I never really allowed my child go do sleepover because I just don't like it. I prefer to know where my child is, and I prefer to see my child. So, for me, that's me anyway. Well, I know some children, they go for like play dates and they go for sleepovers. So it's always, like I said, in looking at safety, it's very, very important that we know where this child is. It's very important that you know the dynamics of the household in which you're letting your child go do sleepover. If your children are going to play, it's very important that you know the kind of play they're playing. And also, now I'm going to touch the elephant in the room, which is social media or internet, because we can't pretend, as parents or as guardians or caregivers, that the internet has not changed our world, right? So with children, a lot of us, our children they've got, what's the name? They have iPads, especially some children have iPad from school now. Thank goodness to Corona, who was, got all of us homeschooling, right? But obviously, the iPad from school, they've done a lot of lock on it, whereby there's parental guidance on the iPad and everything. But then the iPad in the home, or the internet, or the computers in the home, as parents, are you aware of what your children are doing? What is the screen time on your children, on internet for your children? What kind of sites are they browsing through? For those that have phones, and I'm cutting across age. For those that have phones, what did they use their phone for? Do you have access to what they do with their phone? Right? Because the internet, just like new things are developing every day, people who are also preying on vulnerable young children, they are also developing their skills. So for instance, like, we've had situations where children, they're quite clever in this generation. They're quite clever. So some of them, they know that, I'm not sure the age that you need to sign up to go on Instagram, but children know to put different age that would allow them access these things very fast. For those families whose children are YouTubers, I mean, I think that means they are on YouTube doing documenting, vlogging, right? It's very important that you watch what your children are doing on on YouTube, on Instagram, whatever it is that they're doing. It's very important to know what they're doing. Also, it's also very important to also know, to know what your children are doing on the Instagram or social media, because social media has taken over our world. And as a parent, it's very, very important that you know what they're doing there, right? There are a lot of things that go on social media right now. There's sexting. There's this app, I think it's called Sexting. So whereby, children do all sorts of things. They do graphic pictures, and it's quite explicit graphic. It's very important that we know the kind of social media your kids are going into. If they are accessing social media, it's very, very important that we know what they're accessing. Also, if your children are on the internet, what are they browsing? What do you have? I know like some internet providers like Sky, Virgin. I think there may be others like BT. I think so many others like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. But a lot of them do have parental guide. A lot of them allow you to lock out what your children can access, right? So as parents, looking at safety, these are very, very important things to start paying attention to, right? Because the truth about it is some parents, I've heard that some parents, they allow their children screen time in order to allow them, to keep them busy and do other things, and to allow the parents do other stuff. But we also need to remember that in the process of keeping them busy, what are they busy doing? Who is accessing them on this internet and this social media? I think I'll take a break and then we'll come back to it straight away. Thank you. Hi, thank you for having me back. So then we're still on social media. We also need to look at a lot of things go on social media. For instance, there's a lot of bullying going on social media, where little children, and you never can tell. There's bullying around their image, as their individual image. There's bullying around how people look. Some would say, oh, this child, you're too black. You need to go and paint your face. Things like that. There are a lot of things going on. And I'm sure as parents, a lot of us would have seen things or would have heard our kids talk about things. So those things, like bullying, for instance, has a long-term impact on a child. Then also it could be bullying around their body image. It could be bullying around their racial identity. It could be bullying around their accents, right? For me as a person, I've heard people say to me, "Oh, you lived in Scotland for so and so and so years. How come you speak with so much deep Nigerian accent, right?" And it could just be something as simple as that. For us as adults, we might know how to, address things like that. But let's remember, kids are quite vulnerable. So as parents, it's very important that we engage our children. We know what they're doing online. We know who they are talking to online. Another thing I wanted to ask, as a parent, do you know who the friends of your children are? It's not just friends, as in the friends that tell you, my friend's name is Jimmy. A little child might say, my friend's name is Jimmy. Who is Jimmy? As a parent, it's very important that you find out who the friends of your children are. So for instance, like myself, my son's friends, I know all his friends, and I'm that nosy. I also know their homes, because for me it's very important, because that's also keeping my child safe, right? And remember, like what I said, the safety of a child. keeping everybody safe. The safeguarding of a child is everybody's business. Nobody is excluded, not even myself, not you, not even the teacher. All of us are very, very important in ensuring that children are all being kept safe. There is no excuse for not knowing that your children will be safe, right? Now, let's also, why I've mentioned all of this, right? As a parent as well, like in our household, we also need to ensure that the living condition of where we are enables our children to be safe. So, for instance, it could be that maybe the house in which we live in, maybe that house is not so great, maybe structurally, because don't let us pretend that because we live abroad, that everything abroad is perfect, because that's not true, right? It could be that maybe there's dampness in the house that could compromise the safety of your child, because it means that that child might begin to go to friends' homes, or might even go out or go to school, and they wouldn't want to come back to their house because it could be maybe the house is too cold for them, and they actually prefer to be out in other environment that makes them feel safe than coming home to a damp or a cold home, right? It could also be the way we talk to our children. How do we speak to our children that compromises their safety? Some parents were quite, our voices are quite too loud, when we speak to our kids. Those things like that could compromise, the safety of a child, whereby a child feels, if my parents do not shout at me, it doesn't make me, it doesn't mean, it means they're not it means they're not serious about what they're saying, right? So also, maybe we're in a house, as couples or as families, obviously we do have our good times and our bad sides. So what do I mean by that? It could be that maybe mom and dad are having an argument, right? Because let's be honest, we don't. There's no way we could live together and then we'll not rub ourselves on the wrong side. It's not about having the argument; it is how we are having that argument, right? So, but when we start throwing, maybe mom and dad, they're having misunderstanding, or maybe they're having a rough argument. They're having argument rather, but instead, there's no consideration for the children in the household. Dad is saying things, mom is saying things, they're throwing things at themselves. That compromises the safety of the child, because what the child begins to absorb and thinks, what, there is world war happening in my household, right? And then the child begins to seek another adult in order to feel safe. So the other adult could be maybe teacher, the other adult could be, it could be anybody. Let's be honest, because when things are not settled at home, a child's safety is compromised, right? So again, those are big deals. Then also, we also need to look at maybe when mom or dad, when parents are stressed, children can feel that, they can perceive it. So again, sometimes it could be things to do with our immigration status, right? Because I remembered myself, I'll give myself as a very good example. There was a time I was struggling as a parent, and I remembered, I think I had I had some unpaid debts, unpaid loan, and that was really bothering me. But it wasn't such a bad thing. It was just that it bothered me. And I remembered my son came to me one day and said, "Mommy, what's wrong? You're always looking so worried. You're looking so tensed." It wasn't like I was saying anything to him or reacting any way, but what it was he was picking on my body language, and that was compromising his safety, right? And I'm using that because I'm using that as a very simple example, just to get us to relate with things. Because I know, for instance, immigration is quite a complex thing, right? We can't pretend that everybody's immigration status is okay. Some people are still in the process. Some people are like early stages. Some are at the finish line. Just depends, right? But the way we feel, our children are able to pick up on it, right? So in my own case, when I was going through that debt level, what I did with my son was, I never realized until he drew my attention, and he was quite a young boy then. And what I did was I called him, we sat together, and I explained to him, what it was. And do you know what? I realized that the moment I explained my situation to him, right, and my circumstances to him, he understood it better, right? And we'll talk about it. He will come and ask me, oh, hello, mommy, can I make you a cup of tea? Those little, little things make a lot of difference, right? So all I'm saying is, as a parent, let's carry our children along. In carrying our children along, it makes them feel safe, right? Even if there is maybe mom and dad, they have misunderstanding at home, there's no big deal. You can call our children and say, well, you know what, my, that's if the kids overheard it. That's a thing of saying, oh, you know what, yourself and your dad, myself and your dad, we had a little bit of argument. It's nothing. It's just what adults do. Okay. However, it's not because of you, because some children begins to feel the guilt, and in the process of seeking guilt or feeling guilty, they begin to seek for security outside their home. Right? I hope I'm making sense what I'm saying. So all I'm saying as a parent, basically, is, or caregiver or guardian, is let's carry our children along. If something is not right, let's carry them along. Because what that does is, those children are able to trust you enough that they do not feel their safety is being compromised, right? Another thing we can do in order to ensure that children are safe, we can play the emotional game, the emotion game. I know in school, for some of us who have little children, I know in school we have what we call the happy face. I'm sure if you ask your kids, they'll tell you, So the emotion game is looking at how the children feel. So it could be maybe the child is happy, it could be sad face, it could be angry face, it could be disappointment face. Just draw different facial expression. And one thing we also need to do is, as parents, is let these children know that it's okay. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be disappointed. And then, maybe when you do those emotional, because they do it in school, right? And that's where things are picked up. So, for instance, as parents, if we do those things in our household with our children, I know a couple of families that I'm close to. They do that with their children, right? And they talk about it, right? So they could do it in the morning. Maybe, how do you feel in the morning? They have happy face, sad face, disappointment, whatever it is. They have the emotion pictures there. And then they get the children to talk about it. Okay, you feel happy. Why are you happy? It could be, kids being kids. It could just be, oh, my favorite football team won. Chelsea won. Manchester won. Those kind of thing. Right? And it could just be, oh, maybe a sad face. Oh, I'm sad. I'm sad maybe because my friend did not play with me today. You could get those conversations. And it also allows you to know your children more as a family. You could even have, I think there's some games that they have. It's an emotion games on emotions, where as a family, like on a Saturday, like a Saturday like this, you could play with your children, or even maybe during weekday, depending on how busy your household is, right? Most household, maybe Saturdays, so Sundays are like days that they're less busy for some families. I'm not saying all. You could play those games, and in the process of playing it, you also get to, because those children actually feel safe. They get to know things. They get to know how things work. They get to know how mom is feeling, right? They know how mom is feeling. They know how daddy is feeling. They know how everybody is feeling. And then playing those emotion games with children, one thing it does is it also allows the child to know, oh, it is okay, to be sad. It is okay to be happy. It is okay to be angry, because you can unpick their emotions from there. And also, you are also part of that. So you can also unpick your own emotions from there, right? With the children. And overall, what does that drive at? It allows the children to feel really safe in the household. And if the children are worried about something, they can tell you. It also opens a room for interaction. It opens a room for honest and open conversation, right? Whereby, like, I remember somebody once said to me, I think they were doing the emotions game, and there was a parent who said, what, in the process of doing it, one of a child, one of their children had said, "Oh, I feel sad," and they said, "What was it?" And he told them of a boy who was bullying him in school, you know, and it was very good because they were able to pick it up at home, right? Because they had a safe space to have that conversation. And the safe space is their home because they made their home safe enough whereby their children are not being shut down from talking to them about things. They are able to have open and honest conversations with them. So the boy told the parents this is what had happened, and the parents were able to link up with school, and they were able to discuss the concerns. They were able to get the boy, to have an open and honest conversation in a safe space in school, whereby he didn't feel he had to, conceal those information from his parent or from school. They were able to manage it, and the impact of that was that boy felt he felt really relieved, and he saw the impact whereby school was also able to manage that boy who was bullying. They were also able to manage. They were also able to identify other children that boy had bullied, right? So, like I said, just having an open and honest conversation, it could, like I said, just looking at those games, you don't have to go and buy it. It's something that you can create, right? We'll take a break, and then I'll show you the game. I'll show you the emotion game or what it looks like. Thank you. Yeah, I think in our next in 2 weeks' time, I would have had the feelings wheel. It's called a feelings wheel. I would have had it uploaded, but and we'll upload it, and I'll be able to show you what I mean. Because I think we really need to. I'm really taking my time with the angle or with this particular well-being wheel safe, because I know that's something that's quite big for not just our community, but just generally in understanding what it is or what it means for us, to ensure that our children are safe. Now, again, another thing that we can talk about is, even when we, as parents, we also need to look at the tone of voice in which we use in talking to our children, right? So when I say a tone of voice, like me, I've got a very husky voice, right? So sometimes, like I remembered with my son, we used to joke that he has a Sunday name. So, like he has his full name. So I call him by his I call him his full name when he has done something wrong. But then when he's good, I call him by I shorten his name. And it's very interesting because, like my son, sometimes when I text him and, I write his full name, he says, "Oh, what have I done wrong?" And I said, "Well, this, we'll talk about it," and stuff like that. And, it's just having those language and the way in which we go about saying things. So let your children understand, let your children understand the different tones to their voice. For us as parents, particularly in the African community, right? We have a way we talk to our children. Like I'm from Nigeria, and I'm assuming perhaps it could be the same with other African countries. But in Nigeria, there's a way you look at a child, right? I remember when I was young, there's a way they look at me, and our Nigerian mothers, they have a way they look at you, and you know that no, you've crossed your boundaries. And there's also a way they look at you, and yes, I've done right. Now, why am I drawing that into attention? It's very important that we connect with our children emotionally. When our kids have done right, let's learn to praise them. We do that. We do that naturally anyway, Don't let a day of ice cream, maybe we'll go out shopping or stuff. Let these children get used to it so that it doesn't become, oh, my mommy is only going to do this to me only when I'm good, right? Let the children understand. If children have done something wrong, let them understand what they did wrong. Let's talk to them about it. Let's have those deep conversation, right? Let's have those deep conversation about what they've done. Why is it that they've done it? And what could they have done better? Right? We can have those conversations. Also, as a parent, we also need to look at when things are not right at home, it does impact on the children, right? If there's something bothering you as a parent, it's very important that you call your children, say it in a way that they understand it. The reason why I'm saying this is sometimes, right? And I know we're going to go there in some few weeks' time, but sometimes when something is being picked up at school, or maybe in the hospital, or maybe with elder stores, or maybe just with other professionals, right? It could be something very, very minor happening at home. But because the child does not have understanding of it, when there's concerns, the way the child would interpret it might be quite different to what actually is going on at home, right? Let me say that again. Say for instance, right? Maybe mom is for instance, maybe the child always sees mommy as someone who is always angry, right? Or someone who is always shouting at home, right? Is some children, because they don't understand, because their parents have not necessarily carried them along in the way they look at feelings, right? In the way they look at feelings, what tends to happen is that child maybe goes to school. When they do the emotion, when they do the feeling wheels, it's called a feeling wheel. We'll put it up in 2 weeks' time when when I come on the radio again. But when they bring out the emotion games, the child could always put in a sad face. And when they begin to unpick it, it turns out, because they're unpicking it outside the system, when they're unpicking it, the child might come around. I've had a situation where a child said to me, "Oh, you know what? My mommy is always angry." And then you say, "Oh, what's wrong?" And he says, "I'm always sad because my mommy is always angry." So what that does indirectly is the child is saying that the home front is not safe because mommy is angry. And as a professional, obviously, school obviously wants to investigate more, right? Because that's what they have to do. Because remember, like I said, it is everybody's duty to ensure the child is safe. So if this child is reporting in school or reporting wherever it is, it could be school, it could be camp group, whatever it is that they are. If they're saying, they're sad because their parents are always angry, that could have 1,001 different meanings, right? And of course, professionals will begin to work closely with that child to establish what it is, right? And from establishing what it is, sometimes it could just be nothing. Sometimes it could be bigger than what the child is saying, right? One thing I would say before I round up for today is, as Africans, right, when concerns are raised about our children, perhaps maybe in school or social work, whatever it is, the way we put our point across is very, very important. Very, very important. I can't overemphasize this, right? If concerns has been raised, we can actually calm down. It's always nice to calm down and articulate your thoughts in a way that, or articulate your views in a way that when you're saying whatever you're saying, you're not coming across as being aggressive. I know I'm an African myself. I know I use my hand gestures. I do it a lot, right? I know my voice is high. Naturally, I have a deep voice, right? And then you can imagine when I'm not upset, my voice is probably 5 times or 10 times deeper than this, right? It's not, sometimes they said, it's not what you say, it is how you say what you say that matters a lot. So for our children, even when we're speaking to our children, "Oh, this child, you are this, you are that." Or, we say things, maybe not because we mean it. We say some things to the children. And that child probably goes to school or goes to the play group or nursery or wherever it is. And then when they do the emotional game, the child puts up, "Oh, I am angry. If the child does it on a Monday, and then he puts I'm angry again on a Wednesday, and he puts I'm angry again on a Friday, if that continues for weeks, then questions are raised. Because what is the signal is given to professionals is that home front is not a safe place. It could be that it's nothing, right? Because obviously they will ask the child. So imagine a child might probably interpret it the way they understand it. So it brings me back to saying, if things are going on at home, it's very important that we carry our children along. I have seen a situation whereby concerns were raised, and then when they spoke to the child said, "Yes, mommy, my mommy is not happy." And then they asked the child, we asked in a way that the child understands. My mommy is not happy, and they said, "What is it?" And the child said what was going on at home, and based on that, mommy was, the system was able to support mom to address the concerns at home, right? So it has its advantage in discussing concerns with children. As parents, like for me, I always say, my principle is, I'd rather speak to my child and let my child has a first-hand understanding of my feelings, right? Than have my child misinterpret my feelings outside. Because look at it this way, if the child understands the feeling and is able to interpret it the way it is outside, it makes my life 10 times better. Because it means the system is able to understand it, and they can even probe me further. And then, we can have that discussions about it. So on this note, before I go, I want to say thank you to Rain. I think it's Regine. Sorry, Regine. She said you like the idea of the emotion game. Yeah, it's a very good game. I'm going to talk about it maybe deeply, or maybe just touch about it in my next one. But on this note, I want to say thank you for listening. Please keep your questions coming. If you have any question, don't hesitate. I'm quite happy to answer questions. We are here because we want our community to understand how things work. And we want our community to be able to engage better, because once we know, information is power. Once we know how things work, it's easier for us to engage, and it's also easier for us to challenge it when they're doing it wrong. Okay? So on this note, I want to say thank you very much. Let's keep ourselves safe. Hopefully, we'll see how things go with coronavirus. But to all the parents who are homeschooling, keep up the hard work. It's not easy, but thank you. And I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. My name remains Wura Ogunrotimi. Thank you. Bye.
Ẹ kú kàlẹ̀ ń bẹ̀ wo ọmọdé àti àgbà olólùfẹ́ yín ìbùkún olúwa ọmọ Sànúsí tí ẹ mọ̀ sí Àpèkẹ́ tún dé pẹ̀lú àrà ọ̀tọ̀ àlọ́ tó kún fún ọgbọ́n òye àti ọ̀rọ̀ ìjìnlẹ̀ Yorùbá. Ẹ máa bá wa ká lọ. Àṣà Yorùbá kò ní parun. Ẹ kú kàlẹ̀ ń bẹ̀ wo ọkùnrin obìnrin ọmọdé àti àgbà olólùfẹ́ yín ìbùkún olúwa ọmọ Sànúsí tí ẹ mọ̀ sí Àpèkẹ́ tún dé pẹ̀lú àrà ọ̀tọ̀ àlọ́ tó kún fún ọgbọ́n òye àti ọ̀rọ̀ ìjìnlẹ̀ Yorùbá. Ẹ máa bá wa ká lọ. Àṣà Yorùbá kò ní parun.
Ẹ kú ilé là ń kára lé, ẹ kú ọ̀nà là ń kérò ọ̀nà. Mo kí wa towótowó, mo kí wa tọlátọlá, mo kí wa tọlátọlá. Èmi náà ni Àpèkẹ́ Adé ni mo tún dé pẹ̀lú ìtàn lójú ọdẹ nínú igbó irúnmọlẹ̀. Ní ọ̀sẹ̀ tó lọ, à ń bá ọ̀rọ̀ wa bọ̀ lórí bí àkàrà ògún ṣe ṣe tó bá rẹ̀ nínú ilẹ̀. Ó ṣe jáde ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ìrànlọ́wọ́ tó ti wá fi dé pé ibi tó ti ń rìn lọ. Ó rìn já ìlú kan, ìlú ẹ̀gbin, ìlú ìdọ̀tí, ìlú tí Ọlọ́run ti bínú sí. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ló tún pàdé ọmọbìnrin kan. Ibẹ̀ la dánu dúró sí lọ́sẹ̀ tó kọjá. A ó máa tẹ̀síwájú. Ohun mìíràn tí mo tún kíyèsí ni pé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ni ó wọ òde aṣọ. Òmíràn á kọ ojú agbádá sí ẹ̀yìn. Ẹlòmíràn nínú àwọn ọmọbìnrin á fi inú gèlè sí ìta. Aṣọ gbogbo wọn ń dán fún èrí, ó dàbí àpò ọdẹ. Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ nǹkan ni ojú mi tún rí nínú ọjà yìí, ṣùgbọ́n wọ́n ti pọ̀ ju ohun tí èmi ìbá máa sọ nísinsìnyí. Nígbà tí mo ti dúró díẹ̀ tí ojú mi sì ti rí púpọ̀, ni mo bá ọmọbìnrin yìí lọ sí ilé rẹ̀, a sì bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní gbé pọ̀. Ìgbà púpọ̀ ni mo máa ń lọ sí ilé ẹjọ́ wọn. Ìgbà mìíràn tí ẹnìkan bá sì ṣẹ̀ tí wọ́n bá fẹ́ fìyà jẹ olúwa rẹ̀, ọlọ́pàá ṣìnà á di ìjòyè mú, tó sì tó mọ̀ pé ìjòyè ni á ti gbá etí ẹ̀ léraléra. Ìgbà mìíràn tí ọba bá sì ń fẹ́ gun ẹṣin, ó rí màálù ní bọ́lẹ̀. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni nǹkan wọn gbogbo lọ tí ó rí jàgbà rédè. Láti ọjọ́ tí mo ti dé ìlú yìí, yàrá kan wà nínú ilé yìí, èyí tí ọmọbìnrin tí mò ń bá gbé kò jẹ́ kí n wọ̀. Nígbà tí mo ti ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ dé ibẹ̀ ni ó ti wí fún mi pé n kò gbọ́dọ̀ wọ inú rẹ̀ níwọ̀n ìgbà tí òun bá ṣì wà láyé. Ṣùgbọ́n bí òun bá kú, mo lè ṣe bí ó bá ti wù nínú gbogbo ilé náà, torí ilé náà yóò jẹ́ tèmi. Èmi àti ọmọbìnrin náà fẹ́ràn ara wa púpọ̀. Ìfẹ́ náà sì pọ̀ tó bẹ́ẹ̀ tí mo fi bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí pa èrò àti fi ṣe aya. Àkókò tí mo sì ń ronú báyìí náà ni àìsàn kan gbé sánlẹ̀. Orí àìsàn náà ló kú sí. N kò ní èrò pé ọmọbìnrin yìí yóò kú ṣáájú mi, nítorí mo dàgbà jù ú lọ dáadáa. Ìgbà tí ó kú yìí ni mo tó wá mọ̀ pé àti ọmọdé ni o, àti àgbà ni, kò sí ẹni tí ó bọ́ lọ́wọ́ ikú. Lẹ́yìn ikú rẹ̀, mo sọkún, ojú mi fẹ́rẹ̀ fọ́. Mo gbàgbé pé ẹkún sísun kì í mú òkú padà tí a bá ní kó bá àgọ́ ara. Bí ẹlẹ́kún sun ẹkún títí, bí olóṣì ń pa ọ̀ṣẹ́ rẹ̀ títí, ẹni tí ó lọ kò ní ṣe aláìlọ. Nígbà tí ọmọbìnrin yìí kú tán, ni mo ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí wá ọ̀nà àti sá kúrò ní ìlú yìí. Ibi tí mo sì ti jókòó ní ọjọ́ kan, tí mò ń ronú bí n ó ti ṣe ni ọkàn mi sọ sí yàrá tí ọmọbìnrin náà ti pàṣẹ pé òun gbọ́dọ̀ wọ̀. Mo dìde ní ilẹ̀, mo wọ ẹ̀wù mi, mo múra, ó di ibi yàrá yìí, mo fẹ́ wo ohun tí ó wà nínú rẹ̀ gan. Ẹ̀rù kọ́ bà mí nígbà tí mo fẹ́ ṣílẹ̀kùn. Ṣùgbọ́n nígbà tí mo rántí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ohun tí ojú mi ti rí sẹ́yìn, mo ní àfikún náà bí mo ṣí ohun tí ó bá lè dé bá mi ńbẹ̀ ó dé bá mi. Mo bá ṣí o, wọlé tí mo wọlé, inú yàrá mi ní ilé ni mo ti bá ara mi. Nígbà tí mo sì wo ilẹ̀ yíká, mo rí ìbọn mi tí ó ti sọnù sí ibi tí èmi àti àgbákò ti ń jà. Mo rí àpò ọdẹ mi àti àwọn nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ tí wọ́n ti sọnù sí igbó irúnmọlẹ̀. Nígbà tí mo sì wo kọ̀rọ̀ yàrá mi, mo bá àpò owó kan. bẹ́ẹ̀ ni mo ná owó yìí fún ìgbádùn ara mi. Mo jẹ, mo mu, mo sì dá aṣọ bora. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ìtàn ìgbà ìkíní mi ní ìgbé burúkú yìí parí o. Mo fẹ́ kí o bá mi wá oúnjẹ díẹ̀ kí n jẹ nítorí ebi dé. Ìgbà tí mo bá jẹun tán ni n ó gbé ẹnu lé ìtàn ti ìgbà kejì. Ìtẹ̀yìn ní sì dùn ju alákọ̀ọ́kọ́ ẹ̀ lọ. A ó máa tẹ̀síwájú pẹ̀lú ìgbà ìkejì àkàrà ògùn nínú igbó irúnmọlẹ̀. Ohun tó jù ẹ̀ sórí.
ẹ kú kàlẹ̀ ń bẹ̀ wo ọkùnrin obìnrin ọmọdé àti àgbà olólùfẹ́ yín ìbùkún olúwa ọmọ Sànúsí tí ẹ mọ̀ sí Àpèkẹ́ tún dé pẹ̀lú àrà ọ̀tọ̀ àlọ́ tó kún fún ọgbọ́n òye àti ọ̀rọ̀ ìjìnlẹ̀ Yorùbá. ẹ máa bá wa ká lọ àṣà Yorùbá kò mọ̀ nípa rẹ̀.
Nígbà tí ọkùnrin yìí lọ tán tí mo padà dé ilé, mo pe àwọn aládùúgbò mi jọ, mo pe ọ̀rẹ́ àti ojúlùmọ̀, mo sì pe àwọn ìbátan mi pẹ̀lú. Mo rí gbogbo nǹkan wọ̀nyí fún wọn. Ẹnu yà wọ́n gidigidi, gbogbo wọn sì fi ohùn sí pé kí àwọn jí wá sí ilé ìlú lówùúrọ̀ ọjọ́ kejì kí ọkùnrin náà tó dé, kí àwọn bá lè gbọ́ ìtàn tí ọkùnrin yìí náà sọ. Nítorí ìròyìn tèmi kò ní lè tó àfojúbà àti. Lóòótọ́ bí ilẹ̀ ti ń mọ́ hàì ní ọjọ́ kejì ni wọ́n dé. Nígbà tí ọkùnrin náà pàápàá sì fi máa wọ ilé mi ti kún ìgbà ẹsẹ̀ mọ́. Kí ilẹ̀ tó mọ́ ni mo ti pàṣẹ kí àwọn ọmọ ọ̀dọ̀ mi ṣe ìtọ́jú oúnjẹ. Kí ó sì tó di pé ọkùnrin náà bẹ̀rẹ̀ ìtàn rẹ̀, mo gbé agbọ̀n ẹ̀kọ mi mẹ́rin sílẹ̀ fún àwọn àlejò mi. Mo sì wá ẹran sáwó fún wọn. Olúkúlùkù jẹ ó yó, ó sì mú un. Lẹ́yìn èyí ni ọkùnrin náà dìde tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí sọ̀rọ̀ pé inú mi dùn láti rí ẹ̀yin ọ̀rẹ́ mi tí ẹ jókòó wọ̀nyí, lọ́mọdé lágbà lọ́kùnrin lóbìnrin. Bí kò bá sí irú ìfẹ́ tí ẹ ní sí ọ̀rẹ́ mi yìí, n kò ní ṣe bá yín rí yìí. Nígbà tí mo wá sí yín lánàá, n kò bá yín, ọ̀rẹ́ mi yìí nìkan ni mo bá. Ó kí mi, ó ṣe ìtọ́jú mi dáadáa, ó sì lè wá ọmọlúwàbí sí mi. Àdúrà mi pẹ̀lú sì ni pé kí Ọlọ́run má jẹ́ kí irú ìwà báyìí tán láàrin àwa dúdú láéláé. Láì ṣe àní-àní, ọ̀rẹ́ mi yóò ti sọ ìtàn fún mi nípa àwọn òbí mi àti nípa ohun tí ojú mi rí ní ìgbà ìkíní mi nígbà tí mo lọ sí ìgbọràn mi. Mo sì rò pé bí a kò wá ní purọ́, ẹnikẹ́ni tí ó bá gbọ́ ìtàn wọn kò ní ṣàrò pé n kò tún ní jẹ́ dáàbá àti ṣe ọdẹ mọ́. Ṣùgbọ́n bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ́, mo ṣe ọdẹ nítorí iṣẹ́ tí ènìyàn bá kọ́ ní iṣẹ́. Ọjà tí ènìyàn bá mọ̀ ní sí ìta, bẹ́ẹ̀ ni n kò ní ṣàìdédé fi iṣẹ́ ìsílẹ̀ lọ́sùn kí n sì di ọ̀mọ̀lé tàbí agbẹ́gi. Dájúdájú pẹ̀lú, bí ẹ bá tilẹ̀ gbọ́ pé mo tún lọ sí igbó ọdẹ, ẹ kò ní jẹ́rò pé mo jẹ́ bá inú igbó mọ̀lẹ́ lọ. Gbọ́n wá lọ pé ibẹ̀ gan-an ni mo tún bá lọ. Ẹni tí yóò ní òun ṣe nǹkan tí ẹnì kan ṣe rí, ojú olúwa rẹ̀ náà yóò rí nǹkan tí ojú ẹnìkan kò rí rí ni. Kò sí ọdẹ tí máa lọ sí inú igbó mọ̀lẹ́ léraléra. Bí èmi ti ń lọ yìí, kò sí ọdẹ tí ìyà jẹ ní tèmi. Ojú mi rí nǹkan ó sì ti yẹ kí ó ṣe nínà yìí nítorí ọ̀rọ̀ òwe àwọn àgbà kò ní ṣàìṣe tí ó wípé ipò ogun ní pa kíkanjú, ipò odò ní pa òmùwẹ̀, ipò obìnrin ní pàgbèrè. Owó tí àdá bá mọ̀ ní káàdá lẹ́yìn, ohun tí a bá jẹ ní ijó ni. Kọ́lọ́run má jẹ́ kí ohun tí a bá jẹ pa yín. Nígbà tí ó di ọdún kan gbáko tí mo ti padà sí ìgbẹ́ kìíní tí mo lọ dé, mo tún gbé ìbọn mi ní òru ọjọ́ kan báyìí tí mo gbé àpò ọdẹ mi tí mo tún fi orílẹ̀ ọ̀nà igbó mọ̀lẹ́. Mo fẹ́ lọ ṣọdẹ nì. Nígbà tí mo dìde kúrò ní ilé, ó tilẹ̀ ṣe bí ilẹ̀ fẹ́ mọ́ ni. Àṣàkọ̀jọ́ òru ni mo dìde. Òṣùpá àrùn ojú ló jẹ́ kí ó dàbí ẹni pé ilẹ̀ mọ́. Nígbà tí ó sì fi máa di pé àárín ìlàwọ̀, wákàtí méjì péré ló kì í níbi tí mo. Ọ̀tọ̀ ní ọ̀nà tí mo gbà wọ igbó mọ̀lẹ́ lọ ní ti eléyìí. Mo ò fẹ́ gba ibi tí ìṣáájú mọ́. Kí ó má bàa dàbí ẹni pé èmi ni mo fi ọwọ́ kan tí mo bá gbà kíkì pàìpàì tí mo ń gbé jẹbẹtẹlẹ ara rẹ̀ lọ́wọ́. Mo dé ọ̀hún ní dédé ìdákọ̀ mi. Wẹ́rẹ́ mo sì ti yára dá iná mo sun iṣu ìwúrẹ́. Nígbà tí mo jẹun tán, mo kí ìkòkò gbígbẹ́ mo ṣáyé sí. Mo bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí gbádùn ara mi sì yá gágá. Nígbà tí ó wá pẹ́ díẹ̀, mo dá iná ìkòkò mi. Mo sì fi ìkòkò náà sínú àti mo sì fi ojú mi. Mo wá ní dédé tí mo wọ̀. Mo rí igi obì méjì. àkókò ní èso oṣù méjèèjì mo ká èso rẹ̀ náà ó jẹ́ pálí mẹ́wàá nígbà tí mo nà wọ́n lọ mo fi tí mo bá jẹ́ mẹ́wàá mo mú ọ̀kan nínú tó tóbi jù nínú wọn mo bó ó jẹ́ àjò òpá mo sì pa á ní àwẹ́ mẹ́rin nígbà tí ó sì jẹ́ pé irú òbí bẹ́ẹ̀ dára fún pípa bọ ìbọn mo gbé ìbọn mi tí mo fi òbí bọ ṣùgbọ́n nígbà tí mo dá òbí náà kò fọ́ rere ṣé yóò bá fọ́ rere ó yẹ kí awẹ́ méjì dá ojú dé kí méjì sì ṣe ojú ṣùgbọ́n kò rí bẹ́ẹ̀ fún òun o ìgbà mìíràn mẹ́ta dá ojú dé wàá sì ṣe ojú ìgbà mìíràn ẹ̀wẹ̀ mẹ́rin á dá ojú dé àwọn òbí náà kò tilẹ̀ ráyè nígbà tí mo sì dá fún ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ìgbà tí kò fọ́ rere kù ó bá ti kára mi ṣe ojú méjì sí òkè mo dá ojú méjì dé mo wí pé òwò ààrẹ láti sọ̀rọ̀ ara ẹni tí ó darí bí ìwọ òbí yóò bá fọ́ rere wọn ò fọ́ rere fún ọ. lẹ́yìn tí mo sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ mo gbé ìmọ̀ ó di ìlú ẹ̀rọ. ẹni pé apáyẹ́lẹ́yìn àkàrà òun jẹ́ ó fi tipátipá jẹ́ kó ìfọ̀ rere bóyá ìfọ̀ rere nǹkan ti rẹ̀ ń jẹ́ kí ó jẹ́ kó mọ oríṣiríṣi ìpàdé ìfọ̀rọ̀mọlẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n gẹ́gẹ́ bá ṣe sọ ìtàn kejì yìí àbí ìrìnàjò kejì ṣẹ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀ àtúmọ̀tù láwẹ̀ ọ̀sẹ̀ tó wọ̀ ní kẹ́tọ́ pàdé mi nítorí àní mo ṣe máa ń sọ nǹkan kì í tẹ́tẹ́ àrò ó tó wá lọ́sẹ̀ tó pọ̀ ń bọ̀ mo ṣe máa ń sọ ẹ máa ṣe jẹ́jẹ́ o àbùkí adé lórúkọ mi ó ti gbà kan náà ó dàbọ̀.
Why doesn't you?
Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm once again here in OY Media, all the way in Scotland. But the thing is, today we're going to discuss about will writing, because I could see there's so many, people dying, but people die and forget about writing their will. So I get concerned about this. And also we are in pandemic. But the thing is, I'm wishing everyone a happy weekend. And also don't forget, this is OY Media. But I'm urging you regarding to staying safe, and also think about your will. When you write, your will doesn't consist of you dying today. But my worries is, no matter how young, how old you are, you will die one day. But I'm always worried about this, because I've got one auntie in Ghana who was saying that, oh yeah, you know what? Your dad did not write his will before dying. And this one, I'm going to do mine before. By the time she realized, she's gone. And talk less of this pandemic that we are in. It's crucial, but we need to think about writing our will, because I know it's not healthy talking about death. You understand? With me, I've done mine. I don't know when I'm going, but we need to consider, because you don't know. Because perhaps when you die today, your children might not know whether you need to. I mean, they need to. I mean, cremate you or bury you or put you in glass or whatever, and also the kind of music that you like, and also arrangements towards your funeral. It's not something that we Africans we like talking about it. But with me, I've thought about it. I've thought about the music, even with the music I've not yet come out yet. But death comes anyhow, any shape or form, whether you like it or not. We are not here to stay for long. But as I'm speaking about it, I'm going to also consider the fact that you take a note and also acknowledge your friends and yourself regarding to writing your will. It doesn't mean that I'm a lawyer, or I have a lawyer friend that I'm trying to let them write their will or help them to. But it's something that we all need to consider, like writing your will. But what I'm going to do is I'm touching a bit by bit. But also what I'm going to look at it is I'm going to come out with figures, people who have not done it or whatsoever. So just take a note and think about writing your will. Because now the pandemic make it even serious. So I'm also urging you, wherever you are. That doesn't mean that you are dying, but to have a heads up, to know what you would like to, I mean, do when you are gone. Because you would die, and I mean, people don't know the kind of music that you would like to be played. And I, for instance, when I die, I don't want my coffin to be open for people to see me. Because why do you? Because maybe I have my enemy around. But also, we need to also seek God. You understand? Because one thing I sat down to think about, you know, the great Okonfo Anochi. Ashanti people know Okonfo Anochi. Okonfo Anochi had lots of power, and also Yas Antoa. But when the time arrives that they need to die, when the time got there for them to go, they went. So I just sit back and think about that. No matter who, how, you will die. You will die. And also, don't think that when someone dies, you just sit down, fold your arms, and laugh. No, you don't know when yours is happening. Maybe it could happen in the bath. Maybe it could, because majority of people they don't think about that. But I'm also waiting for my CEO to join me, because this platform that I'm on is OY Media in Scotland. But every Saturday, 4 o'clock, this is where I'm going to talk about things that is affecting our society. And also, don't forget, with GN Radio, they've got a TV station in Sky 182. Very soon, I'm going to present from there, and we're going to do a talk show. Because our society, there are certain things that we need to bring it on board. So very soon, I'll be doing a talk show from there. So because everyone knows that there's pandemic, and prior to the pandemic, that I mean, we are going through things. Oh my God. Okay, because I've got a little bit of information, so I looked at it. So prior to the pandemic that we are in, you can't just meet people and to do shows or whatsoever, because when I do talk show, I like people to be around, then it looks a bit not boring. So I would say that Oh my God. So you guys should understand me. But I wanted to find out if my CEO is going to join me from Scotland. Okay. But the will issue, I've been thinking about it. Because I, for instance, take it or not, because that doesn't mean I'm going to die now, because I'm protecting myself against the coronavirus and also the variants. Okay, the new variants that is there. The virus kills people so quick, more than any other things. That's why we need to seek. We need to protect ourselves as much as we can. All right. Even now, I don't feel like, even when it's not necessary for me to go and do my shopping or to go to work or whatsoever, I would like someone to even get close to me, because I get worried. I get really, really worried. And now, because of the pandemic, you don't even think about your nails, your eyelashes, whatnot, whatnot. Okay. Your safetyness is the best key. Your safetyness is the best thing that you could ever, have it, because if you don't protect yourself, because now I'm seeing too many people dying. I'm furious. I'm really, really scared and worried about this. Okay. So that's the reason why I'm saying that we need to think about our will and everything. But the thing is, next week I'm still going to hit the hammer on the nail, that I'm going to talk about it again. But I'm going to bring a bit of figures, estimated, what's not on board. But also, my show is Last Born Reload. Last Born Reload from OY Media in Scotland, okay, and also is on a radio station in our radio in the UK. So I'm going to tell you that, my brother, my sister, think about the fact that you're going to write your will. Will. Even sometimes when you go on Google, you get a template that you can do it. So, someone might say, "Oh, is it part of your business?" Okay. Anyway, so yeah, because I would say that with that will issue that I'm talking about, people need to think about. And also, I lost my sister in the UK. So I'll say that we need to take a serious note. See, when I say serious, serious note. Even I can be speaking to you. Oh my God. So, Jesus Christ, I was watching something on my phone, so you need to bear with me, because there's a note. And also, the CEO of OI Media also has lost his dad. So I'm going to say that will. Someone will go to his house and say that, oh, why is she talking about will? Is she about to die, or is she what? Now I know death is all around the world, but all you need to do is to pray. The first thing is to pray, and the second thing is you need to also protect yourself against coronavirus. Staying at home, wash your hands frequently, use your sanitizers, and also your face mask. Okay, even if you can get something like a raincoat or something, you can also put it on when you're going outside with your boots, so that you don't touch people. You understand? The new variants is something that worries me so much. That one comes to you, few days you are gone. Few days you are part of the other people on the other side of the world. Okay, so I am I don't know. So I don't know how it's going to be, because I'm trying to tell my CEO that he should connect someone or whatever. But I hope what I'm discussing about is not boring to you. Think about it. Seriously, think about it. It's not a joke. What I'm telling you is not a joke. I'm telling you. I mean business. I'm really serious about the will that we need to consider, because if you don't think about your will, I bet you, because I know someone who just passed about before December, and the person that passed away did not write his or her will. Sorry, don't use against me. Her will is a lady. So while she did not write her will, I mean, the family did not know what kind of music she likes, what she like, whether she likes to be buried or whether she wants to, I mean, stay in a glass. I wish I can stay in a glass without me being buried, because I want everyone to see that. Yes, even if I'm gone, I'm there. But the only thing is, like, when I die, I don't want people to come and look at my face. And even if they put you on stage for people to watch you, your enemy can even come and watch you and go like, oh, look at her. Because I saw one person who died, and what happened was people were like criticizing her while she's dead. And I said, how could we behave like that? The person that is dead and gone. You understand? Because me, even if I die and you stay somewhere to talk about me, I'll make sure the next minute you will join me. So I'm begging everyone, let's think fast. Because death, I'm sure someone, even right now as I'm speaking to you, someone has heard that someone is dead and say, oh yeah, I like it. Impossible. Never. Let me tell you what is going to happen. All right. So I'm going to tell you that, think about the will. But also, this is OY Media in Scotland. And also, I am your hostess, Lastborn. I'm your presenter. And also, being your presenter, also, I'm here to make you think upright. I need to put things into your thick skull, right? If I use a word like that, don't be having any different thoughts. But I mean, things that is affecting our society. We don't think about death. We don't. And also, one thing also that is more serious also, we don't also think about our, how do they call it, life insurance. That doesn't mean that I work for a life insurance company, but I wish I need to start looking into that. Then I say, hey, my friend, but the thing is, I did my life insurance, I canceled it out, and I went to put it onto my thing, because I don't know when. I can even stumble right now and I'm gone. Or maybe you're going to shop, someone will pass by you, has got the COVID, you got it, and you're gone. My sister, my brother, don't think that it's not happening. It's happening. Even the one I don't like at all is the new variants. That new variants is serious. But we need to think properly. We need to think carefully. But I'm going to take a break. Then I'm going to come back again. But this is OY Media all the way in Scotland. But I'm still your last one. I'm your super presenter. All right. But let's think carefully about writing our will. What are right, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Hello. Today I've got my beautiful lady on there. And like we were discussing about the will writing, I mean, I'm going to find out whether she's thought about it. Hello, sweet sister. You can introduce yourself.
All right, I'm Wura. I am Wura Ogurotimi. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, she's our super sister, even though I'm a Ghanaian and she's a Nigerian.
You're my
But
sister now.
what did he say?
I say you're my sister either way.
Isn't it? Me,
We're not your neighbors.
yeah, and also me, I am considering myself Nigerian, you know, because it's a place that I would like to live.
I've eaten Banku and
Oh
enjoyed
my
it.
God, me too.
And Kelewele. Yeah.
And Kelowele.
Yeah.
Ah, my God. Then we are the same people, isn't it?
Exactly.
But in the whole Africa, one thing I seem not to understand, if a Nigerian moves straight, he goes to Ghana. And Ghanaian also move straight,
They come
Nigeria.
to Nigeria.
I sometimes say that and I don't know. But Togo is close to us. But anything that we do is Niger.
I
So
know. I know.
number one. But I'm happy that you are on the show,
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. But like we said that we're talking about our will because the pandemic is
Yeah.
serious. We get people dying. My
Yeah.
friend died and she did not write her will. My another man also died without his will. So I came here today to urge people about writing the will
Yeah.
because it's very, very important. Me, even if I'm like 12 years today, I'll think about my will because if I want to give it to a cat, it
Yeah.
should go to a cat. Even if you have 50p and you
Yeah.
want to give it to someone, at least you know what your wish has been dealt with, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what would you say about writing your will?
I think it's really important. But I think again, it's down to the mindset of individuals, right?
Definitely.
Because
Yeah.
it's a very tricky thing, well, I say tricky in the sense that for us Africans, or let me say Nigerians, don't let me generalize. I think for Nigerians, because most of my friends are, well, not necessarily Nigerians. I've got friends across different African countries, but
Yeah.
I remember when I was growing up, when you talk about will, it's like, oh my goodness, are you planning for me to die? That kind of thing. I rebuke you in Jesus' name. That kind of a thing, huh?
Definitely.
So, but the thing is, I think again it depends on our exposure and depends on how we source information, right?
Okay.
I remember for me as a person, I never really had a will at the beginning. I have to be fair. I never really had a will. I think I decided to write my will when I was 27.
Wow. So
Right?
I'm sorry to ask you, how old are you now? And if you
I'm,
don't want
I'm going to be 44. No, it's okay. I'm going to be 44.
to, and you
Now,
look young, more than that.
yeah, the reason why I wrote my will at the time, it wasn't because I wanted to do it. It was just a conversation. So I think then I was working in National Trust Scotland, right? And I remembered my colleague in the office, she was talking about writing her will, blah, blah, blah. Me just playfully, right? And I think, the National Trust, we manage the heritage properties, right? So it also happened, the guy that came so we had a legal department and they were talking about writing will and blah, blah, blah. So I just thought, okay, what's the big deal? Let's write it, So out of play, I just did it.
And it's the best thing.
Yeah, I did it out of play. And at the time when I wrote the will, funny enough, I think I was living in a rented flat, funny enough, at the time, right? And then they talked about private pension, right?
Yeah.
It's because to write the will, you had to have a private pension. They talked about whatever it was then. So that was how I went into the private pension. I think I started with maybe £2 with the private pension. Because you could not write the will. It was a package that was coming at the time. So when I wrote the will, it was quite interesting because they asked questions that at the time I never really thought about. So they asked questions around my health. They asked, at the time, obviously, I had no health problems, right? Well, I still do not have any, but at the time, 27, you're not thinking of health problems, if that makes sense. So they talked about health problems. Then they also asked, I remember there was a question they asked me that got me thinking really deep. And that was unforeseen circumstances. What would be your, how prepared are you for unforeseen circumstances?
Yeah.
Right? And that actually got me thinking really deep. Because, those of us who live in a Western country, in Africa, you have your family, you have everybody there to go to for, if something goes wrong. Right?
Yeah.
And, because of the way our system is geared up at home, say, for instance, something happens, maybe, say, for talking sake, we have Corona now, most people who are passing away due to Corona, a lot of them, it wasn't something that they planned for.
Never.
It was something that happened. And they would class it as unforeseen circumstances, right? And some of our people, most likely that passed away, perhaps it's possible they don't even have what's it called? They don't even have a will.
Impossible.
Right? Yeah. So there was actually a particular case, I think, well, I don't know how true it was, but there was a particular case of a lady that she passed away. She's an African lady. She passed away. She had, when they opened, I think when the police obviously went to open her house, she was a nurse. When the police went into the house to open the house when she passed away, because it was a neighbor who had reported that something was smelling. So when they obviously went into the house to open the house, they actually found £15,000 cash.
Ooh, just imagine.
Right? They found it, and it was in the house. It was actually stashed in the wardrobe, right?
Yeah.
And I think they could see because apparently she had written in paper. You know, I think she was saving. You know, I think she was doing like this susu. You know, this,
yeah,
you
know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So I think
Susu
she was
from Ghana.
Yeah. So in Nigeria, well, in my language, you call it ajo, right? So she
so
was.
Hold on. How come you are saying susu? Are you from Ghana?
My friends call it susu. Most of my friends from Gambia and Co. Yeah, they call it susu. Yeah. So
they took it from Ghana, though.
All right. So she had done the. So I think she was making a note. It appeared she was saving money weekly, and she had been able to save this whatever money she was. The aim apparently was to save 20 grand.
Yeah.
And because she was building back in her home country, I can't remember the country she's from. But what was interesting was she. So obviously they found this money, and then she had children back in her country, right? But you know, undeclared fund is usually it will be arrested by Her Majesty.
Yeah.
Right. So even though there was, I can't remember the country she's from, but I think the community of the country she's from reached out to the police and the UK system asking to have that fund because that money was going to make a life change to the children back in our country. But apparently the money was arrested.
Definitely.
You know, by Her Majesty. Now, why am I saying this? I'm assuming if she had a will, right? It's most likely she would have incorporated, like any money I have, that would have been incorporated into it. So, like for me, who wrote my will when I was 27, for instance, anytime, like I know every year they would write to me and ask if my circumstances has changed. So there's a form I get to fill every year. It's called change of circumstances. So if my circumstances has changed, I need to notify them. And, you know, they will write back to me and say, thank you for updating or thank you for, you know, your record will be kept, blah, blah, blah. You know, they will just tell you the usual story.
Definitely.
So even when I bought property, you know, when they sent that form of change of circumstances, I was able to include it there.
Yeah.
And one thing they always asked is, they were always wanting to know who my next of kin is. Even though I always say who my next of kin is, they would always want to double check every year.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, and then one thing else, apart from asking about my next of kin, they also want to know if my estate who is my estate going to? Now, you know, in the African culture, your next of kin naturally will get your estate.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So I remember that I called the company and I asked them, you know, I have my next of kin written. Why do you keep asking me who my estate should go to?
Yeah.
You know, because the African lady in me think you should just go to my next of kin straight away. But they're like, no, that we cannot make that assumption. I need to state who we should go to.
Okay. The question I would like to raise with you, do you have a music that you put it down that you like so much?
Did I what?
Do you have a kind of music that you would like to play when you are no more?
I didn't think about that until 2 years ago. My friend died. I have to be honest. You know, I did the question, but I never answered it. So I have a friend of blessed memory who went to uni together, and she was doing this cancer challenge. It was so interesting because not in a good way, but she was doing a cancer challenge. So, and it just so happened, you know, we were fooling around and said, you know, she would dress. So she agreed to dress like a cancer patient. who was at the
Ooh.
last stage of life, not knowing that she actually had cancer.
Oh my God.
Right? So we did the fundraising. We were able to raise very good money, right? And so it just so happened it was a very tough time for me because we were very, very close. I call her my Scottish older sister, you know.
Okay. Can I ask you this question? Do you think because she dressed like a cancer patient, that's why she had the cancer, or is something that was meant to be?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay.
But the thing was, you know, she had done that and everything. So when she went for diagnose, you know, she just went for regular check. She was in her 60s, went for regular check, and then it turned out, you know, no, she was in her late 50s. Sorry, she had gone for cancer. You just regular check. You know, when you're 50, the NHS would engage you more. So she had gone for this check, blah blah blah, and then they discovered she had cancer. And
I'm sorry.
It wasn't just that she had cancer. It was she had weeks to live.
My God.
Right? And it was such an interesting, for me, it was such a life-changing journey for me because she was one of these, like I said, I met her in uni and we're just these two eccentric students in uni back then. And I think because we were mature students, we just, you know, we're just a very good blend of ourselves. But I remembered when she was through the end of her life, you know, the way we were engaging her and stuff like that. I remember they were asking her, you know, what music do you want for them to play? You know, and I thought, how can you be asking? You know, the African in me could not look beyond the question.
You like saying my African in me, isn't it?
Yeah, because, you know, there are some questions that someone will ask you, and you're like, are you asking this kind of question? Because they're not natural questions that you ask. You understand? So she was
it's
now
very important.
Yeah. So she was saying to me, she said, so when we were asking the question, she mentioned the music, and I said, they're not even asking you question or music of what you want them to play for you here. It is when you know, because she's a white lady, but I think because I'm so used to her, a lot of time I forget and I just assume her to be an African woman, right?
Yeah.
But those music were quite important because even when the funeral, obviously she had to plan a funeral before she died, which again was a big, well, I suppose I understand the Scottish system, but it's not something that they will tell you to, you know, like in Nigeria, I don't know someone that they will tell, come and plan your funeral. You know, it's not something I'm used to. I have to be honest. You know,
definitely. That's what we Africans we don't do. We don't do that.
So when they told her to plan her funeral, because I remember the funeral director would come and speak to her, and they will ask her the type of coffin, the measurement, and I was like, oh my God, you know, sometimes I have to leave the room because I'm not used to it.
Yeah.
You know, saying, come and plan your funeral. You know, in Africa, in Nigeria, we don't plan funeral. It is
no.
It is when the person dies, the people after are the ones who have that.
No, practically, we all. You understand? It's something that you don't think about. And I remember my mom was saying that, oh, you know what? I'm not like your dad who died. No. I said, what? She said, oh, she will always. But when it comes, it just comes like that. Bam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then, like my friend, when my friend died, I could see the practicality of her being part of a funeral.
Yeah.
Because I remembered very well at the funeral, you know, from the moment she died and whatever, you know, the dress they wore for her, even the way they bathed her and everything was what she had wanted.
Yeah.
And the theme of the clothes, you know, she was very clear about the theme of the clothes of the theme, the color theme that she wanted to wear to a funeral. And you know, she didn't want any sadness. She just wanted, you know, she was the funeral. I remember sitting in the funeral in the crematorium, you know, when they had the service and stuff.
So, point of correction. So, was she cremated?
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she was. So I remember sitting that was before Corona took over our lives. And I remember I remember I was sitting in the crematorium with the chapel, and you know, and they were playing the music. And I remember humming the music along because it was just so hard. It was as if she was present with us there.
Oh.
You know, so that made a lot of sense to me. because everything we did was just what she would do naturally. You know, even the way we're dressed, well, not the way we're dressed, but like the colors, you know, the colors was just so her color. Even like when we read out, like when they were reading out the, what's it called? You know, like the program and everything, music, everything. It was just so, like, it was as if she was in the room with us. Of course, she was there, like remains, but it was as if she was there physically with us.
And I can bet you she was there. Trust me. When they are gone, with me, when someone is close to me and the person passed away, I feel the person. Died, always. It's not like sometimes like you can use your hand to touch, but I could see it. Yeah.
But I like the fact that, you know, the fact that she chose stuff for herself. You know, it was just so personalized, right?
Yeah.
Compared to, I don't know, I think it was quite different. Like, I've been to funerals back at home.
Yeah.
Right? And it's mainly the people who are left behind who plan those funerals. And it might not naturally be the personality of that person, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And one thing, the sad news is I've acknowledged or I've had in mind is like sometimes you could marry, you would marry to someone, and also you have a property together, but you would think about when I die, who will be my next of kin or my will or whatsoever, like who will be my next of kin. So the person would then go and get insurance in your name. In the meantime, the same person that you are there with wants you to die, and you will take everything. So that's why even you need to look into that. This is my will, because let's assume you have a mortgage together with your husband, or not even together with your husband or your wife, and one passes away. When the person passed away, because you don't have your whatever, the thing goes straight to the other person. And in the meantime, maybe he contributed to your death. So that these are the kind of things even that we need to think about. You understand? And also the music, and also if you don't want your coffin to be open. My sister said, I don't want my coffin to be open. So that someone will come and just look at her face. Oh, look how slim and big she is. You understand? So that's why it's good. And the way also the pandemic has hit in so high, and also the way, people are just dying like that. They haven't thought about all these things. And also we Africans, we don't think about life insurance.
I was just going to say that because I think, so I work for the civil service, right?
Okay.
And I think there's a lot of elephants in the room.
A point of correction. So you work for the civil service, which sector? Or you don't want to disclose?
I work in a local authority. I'm a social worker.
Oh my God, that's good.
But there's something I've picked up, right, from our community. Insurance is a big deal, right?
Okay.
But our pension, what's it called? Our pension tax is also a big deal. And a lot of us do not think about it, right? Now, why am I saying that? The pension tax or the widow's tax, right? Widow or widower's tax. Now, I've been lucky enough. I use the word lucky very, very loosely, right? I've been lucky enough to have seen some things differently, right?
Yeah.
Now, I've met people who have had relationships. The truth is, nobody marries and thinks of divorcing, right? Life happens, right? Life happens. But when those things happen, we don't look at, we only focus on, we have been separated. We don't look at, you can be separated from somebody, you can be divorced from somebody, but yet, if you do not sort yourself out properly,
definitely
it comes back to haunt you.
That is called clear break.
Yeah, it comes back to haunt you.
It's clean break in marriage.
Yeah, it comes back to haunt you. For instance, even with divorce, you need to divorce properly.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed in our community, most of the people who divorce, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people divorce using a wrong form for their divorce. They fill the wrong form for their divorce. Naturally, when you're divorcing, from the point of divorce, you should be able to highlight what happens to your property. Be able to highlight your expenses. But there are people who divorce, they don't address all of that. They're just interested in just getting out.
I did it before. I've
The
had
problem
experience.
is the moment you step out, because say for instance, let me use a case of mortgage. Let me use mortgage as a very, very good example. When you're going into mortgage, say you're doing a joint mortgage, for instance, yourself and your partner,
Yeah.
I use partner again loosely,
Mm-hmm.
So yourself and your partner, you're going into a mortgage. Now, both of you under the law, you're tied to the debt of that mortgage.
Definitely.
So when what happens and you do not sort that out, you do not address that, the person who is liable for that mortgage after the divorce has a higher say than you, whose name is just there on a fancy. Because if you do not address that and you now come back years later wanting to address wanting to address property, unfortunately, you will need the court. You are at the mercy of the person who has been financially responsible for that mortgage.
Okay.
Right? These are things, because before I became a social worker, I trained as an accountant. So I used to work at a bank and I understand the way things work. So, there's a lot. I know we're talking about will. I think in my view, I think there's a lot that our community needs to understand on how things work. It's not just you can walk away in a marriage, but it's not just walking away. There is more to walking away.
Yeah.
Like if you do not sort yourself out financially, or you don't sort yourself out legally, there's no shortcuts. You either do it right at the very beginning, or you don't do it right at all. But if you don't do it right at the very beginning of separation, what happens is when, say for instance, that person dies or something happens, because sometimes we are carried away with, oh, I have a next of kin. Now, the law looks at next of kin differently. You can have a next of kin, but who is the person by law that is entitled to your estate? That's a different question entirely.
Yeah, but because we are talking about how do they call it, the will, but the point and also the section that you are talking about is very, very important. So we need to address that because I have had that experience, like divorcing without thinking about the property or what's not. But the fact is, the judges also look at it like you took the children to look after them and things like that. But as you say, also, it's very, very important that you look into that. But at this point in time, we need to take a break. Then we come back again. But I really appreciate you, and you're amazing. All right, you showed that you are a social worker in the UK. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back because we have our beautiful sister from Scotland. She's a social worker and she talks many sense. And I'm really happy I have you on the show. Yeah, like we were discussing about the will. That will does not have to leave us and go. Because even if I wish if I died, they can put me in a glass, even though I don't want people to see me, but not to go underneath the grounds. But if the needs arises, but my coffin should not be open to my enemies. and then I'll choose my music as it goes along. Because someone might say that, oh, she's so silly. Why is she talking about sorry about that, her will or whatsoever? I know so many people will talk about it, but at the end of the day, when you look at it carefully, when you talk about it, it's better.
Yeah.
Because when we die today, no matter how, you're going to die.
Yeah.
Because one thing I hate now, and also I understand now that even when you have any power, you will die, and we're going to meet
Yeah.
our maker. So we need to pray more. We need to protect ourselves, and also when it's not necessary, we shouldn't go out. You understand?
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave it with you to, also give us a bit. Take some once you've written your will, but life insurance also, like you said, is very, very important.
Yeah.
So yeah, whatever you want to tell the viewers, go ahead, and thank you so much.
Oh, right. So I think for our community, I think it's high time we start thinking of the unforeseen circumstances. Like I
Yeah.
said, for myself, I suppose when I first wrote my will, I did it out of just fooling around, really. I didn't know what I was doing. I just did it just for the fun of doing it. And because
But does it mean that you can go back to rectify things?
if I could go back to rectify things, I would have probably written my will when I was 16.
Oh, okay.
Right? And I don't regret writing it because what I've discovered, I've got a lot of white friends, and what I've discovered is most of them who are my friends, really, a lot of them have written their will from when they were very, very young, when they became teens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I discovered, because like when you write your will, it's very easy. You can always adjust it as you go. As life changes for you, like I said, they change your they call it change of circumstances form.
Circumstances.
Yeah. So when they send it to me, you can record it. And I think for me too, every year when it comes to me, funny enough, it comes every May. And May is my birthday, right? So
which date in May?
9th.
Oh, okay. Wow.
When it comes, when the form comes, one thing that it always gets me to do is it gets me to reflect on myself.
Oh.
And I don't know for whatever, naturally I'm a reflective person, but it just gets me to reflect more. And I'm like, oh, another year has ticked again, And then I'm also able to reflect on what I have and what I don't have, what's important to me and what shouldn't really be a priority to me, if that makes sense. And I think for our community, I know when we talk about death, it's not a topic that we talk about loosely, it's a topic that we are very careful with, right? But like my sister said, the reality is we're all going to die one day, right?
Definitely.
And I think it's better we confront what the realities are, because if we confront the realities, it saves the pain of our loved ones, right?
And even for ourselves, isn't it?
It saves the pain of our loved ones. And I will refer back to the case I'd used earlier, the example I used earlier of the African lady who, I can't remember her country, and that's really annoying me. But when she died, they had physical cash of 15,000, right? It might be possible that she even have some money in the bank. It's possible, right? It's also possible that maybe she had some savings. It's most likely, right? Because we Africans will work really. So it's possible that she has savings in the bank, and all this money, because there is nobody. Because I remembered when it came out on the evening news, they could not identify a next of kin, because in the UK she lived by herself.
Oh,
so no next of kin was. They acknowledged that she had children, but obviously I'm assuming. I don't know what the second, but I'm assuming that perhaps she never had a record of who a next of kin should be. And if she actually had what's it called? If she actually had a will, it's most likely that she would have listed who she wants her estate, even if it's 1p, who she wants it to go to, right? But that money, unfortunately, was arrested by Her Majesty's whatever.
Forget it.
Right? And imagine, that's about 5 years ago now. So imagine what that 15,000 would have probably done, to her children. Imagine the life changing would have brought to her family.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't know if she's poor or rich or whatever. Again, I think there was a recent case last year during the coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a Ugandan lady that passed away, right, in Glasgow. Now we have another lady who passed away recently here in Edinburgh. She's from Uganda as well.
Mm-hmm.
She has a little child. Now, money was raised. But I remember when I saw that, when I saw the news, my heart was broken. But then I thought to myself, does this lady have a will?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the children, that her baby is staying with her neighbor. But then if you had a will, that would state, this is where I want my child to stay. And you know what I mean?
Oh, definitely.
So I think it's we just need to think about it. That's the reality.
Uh-huh. But come to think terms of when you die, who should look after your child or whatsoever, it's very, very important and very vital, because if they for instance, you die and your child goes to your enemy, what do you think, you understand, is going to happen? And also, I mean, that thing is a bit worrying. That's why I thought about it, that no, one have to write his or her will or whatsoever. So I mean, it's very tactful and very sensible. So I really
And it's quite
appreciate that.
reflective. It's quite reflective as well, because as we grow older, we go older every day. We don't get younger every day. We might look young, but we're not young, if that makes sense. And life happens, like my friend, the friend I was describing, we were just playing this cancer, whatever it was. And it turned out she had cancer. I mean, I don't know. She turned out she had cancer. But imagine that's someone who was very healthy. Because I remember she told me about her diagnosis. For 3 days, I was numb.
I know.
Right? Because I know her to be very healthy. She doesn't joke with her health and stuff. But again, it shows that life happens. Look at this time last year. I think this is January, just ending of January. This time last year, there was no coronavirus in the UK. We're not having this conversation. We were talking about it being in China, not in the UK.
It's true.
Right? And then suddenly, I remembered by February 10, we had the first coronavirus in the UK. And then by the end of February, we're already thinking of, no, we need to start shutting down everywhere. That's unforeseen circumstances.
Yeah, it's seriously. Because last year my son asked me, Mom, when I'm going to school, there's something called coronavirus, so you need to buy me face masks. At that time, it has not been said, or like no one knows. So I went to tell my other friend, like, but I said I should buy him, how did they call it, face mask. And he said, no, don't buy him face mask because the police would arrest him. I say no. So he keeps saying, Mom, there's something. It's now here. It's not there. Until now it came to light. That's, oh my God, I need to get him ASAP. But the way the world is going, with me, I don't care about anything anymore.
Yeah.
But what I need to think about is to protect myself, to protect my children and my loved ones around me. But when it's not important for me to go out, I'd rather stay at home and chill, because life is now like an egg. As soon as, even though it was an egg, now it's too fragile.
Yeah.
So we need to take precautions and also protect ourselves. But my brother and sisters, will writing is very, very important. Like how my sister over is saying, you understand? Even me myself, I say no. But the sad news around this is, we Africans, we don't like, life insurance. The little £10, it's not like I'm selling insurance or whatsoever. The little £10, because even I did it before, then I was like, oh, excuse me, I've paid this for so long, let me cancel it. But later on, I say, I'm being stupid. I'm being seriously stupid. I need to go and pay it and get it done, and which I did. But we need to seriously think about our will, our will, life insurance or whatsoever. Because me, if I die and you go and play some music, or I see some people I don't want them there, then I will put a tick. That night, I need to come and take you away. And also, one thing we need to also think about when one dies, oh, I'm happy she's dead. I'm happy she's no way.
Yeah.
That death now, I don't see it so far. It's so close. So
Yeah.
every time we are, even though I have not prayed I did not pray this morning. After that, I'm going to pray. I'm not the kind of person who likes to pray, but I know we have only one master on this earth,
Yeah.
which is God. No matter how, we're going to meet him. So we need to pray and also do the right thing, and also to protect ourselves. You know, that variance that is around, I don't like that one at all.
Yeah.
Even though I don't like coronavirus, that one is so serious. 2 days you are gone.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I remember that I went for my vaccine.
yeah.
And they were going on about, like they were just getting us to read through and ensure that, and something clocked my mind when I was going to get a vaccine. There was a particular, so they're talking about allergy and what could happen, and, I suppose I don't know myself to have any allergy anyway, but it was just the fact that, I'd read about it and they said it could be quite serious,
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that was one of the longest drive I had going back to my office from like where I went to take the vaccine is just say 25 minutes drive from where I work. But I remember that 25 minutes drive when I was coming back, right? Because they had said, oh, when you have it, you might have aches, you might, it wasn't just like a normal vaccine. So when you take the vaccine, you've got to wait for like 15 minutes, right? To see if you have any reactions, right?
Okay, yeah.
And I think the proper me, the proper me. Right?
One thing I like about you saying that the African in me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead with the vaccine.
The proper me, right? I remember after taking it, and they said they gave me the leaflets, right? And they said just sit for like 15 minutes. Where you have to sit, honestly, you need to have taken the vaccine to understand what I'm describing. So, if you've ever worked in a hospital, right? When they're waiting, maybe somebody died and they're waiting to share the news, waiting to give you a cup of tea and coffee, to share the news. So we sat there and they were like, oh, there's tea and coffee. And I thought, I'm not taking this. The Nigerian in me came out and I was like, me, I'm not taking
That's
this.
what I like.
I just told myself, I said, I'm not taking this. I will go. I will just be driving and be going home. But it was interesting because when I got in the car, driving back to my work, to my office, it was a long 25 minutes drive because in my head, psychology, it kept playing in my head. What about, I've taken it in my left hand. What about if the hand just goes numb? I was, it was just me,
Yeah.
I was like,
your typical Nigeria in you.
I'm telling you. So I said, and the next thing I did, I remember I called my son and I said, and I had to pack. I called my son. I said, I've just had this vaccine. Can you hear my voice very well? And the poor boy was like, Mom, are you okay? I said, yes. I said, I've just taken the vaccine. Am I sounding normal to you? And he was like, yes, Mom, you are.
Let me pause and ask you this. Why were you thinking about that? The way the rates people are talking and bombarding us with the vaccine. Some people say, oh, when you take the vaccine, they're going to put a chip in you.
I don't even believe in that chip. Like me, I was not even that keen on the chip. It was, I think for me, what really got me was because if you go and take I think it's someone who has taken the vaccine that can understand what I mean. So there's like three. So when you
but how do you know? How do you know that I have not taken the vaccine?
No, I'm not making an assumption. I'm just saying generally, right? Yeah. So when they want to give the vaccine, they've got three things they've got three steps of instruction you've got to read.
Read, right? Yeah.
So the first one is just the vaccine is made by Pfizer, blah blah blah. Then the second one is are you allergic to any whatever it is? Then the third one, they will now tell you the stages of allergy. What like how long the allergy will manifest itself and blah, those kind of things.
Yeah.
So, whatever reason, my focus was on that third one of the after effect of allergy. Even though I don't have any allergy, after effect of the vaccine. And if you feel headache, if after 2 days, if it's not okay, call the NHS. And there's one they said if you feel lethargic. Another one they said you could feel numb. So me, for whatever reason, that numb was on my head. So when I was driving, like I said, I parked and I called my son. Can you hear my voice? I said, no, your voice is okay. I said, okay, can I do a video call? Let's do FaceTime. So I did a FaceTime, honestly. By the time I got home, it was actually in stitches. So we did a FaceTime and I said, and he said, Mom, what's wrong? I said, I've just taken the vaccine. And I said, but they are saying that, after 15 minutes, I didn't wait for 15 minutes because they gave me tea and it reminded me of as if somebody was going to die and they were just giving you tea just to drink it before the person dies.
I don't like you at all. No, but I wouldn't say that you shouldn't do that because of the news and things that people have said and you've heard about it, isn't it?
Well, saying that, funny enough, after taking the vaccine, well, I was never really carried away with conspiracy theory, in fairness, because for me, because of the nature of my job, I'm a frontline worker. So, and I knew I was going to take it anyway, because for me, like my son, he works from home because of what he studied to do. But for me, I have to go out. So I'm actually more of a danger to him because I'm going out almost every day, Monday to Friday. I'm going out, and because of the nature of my job, I'm going to see families. And you don't know, it's not written on anybody's head.
Yeah.
What's in there. Even I remember when they first had the coronavirus last year, I used to hate the forensic suit that they got us to wear. We had to wear this suit, this forensic, and the forensic suit again reminded me of these people who comes to take dead body. It was just because I work in children and family, so it was like they got us to wear because we had to go for visits, placement visits, and whatever. So we had to wear this jumpsuit, and we'll go with the doctor.
Which is very, very important.
Yeah, but the thing was, it wasn't wearing it that was the problem. It was not the memory that came with it. And it doesn't help with the news as well. When you come home and they're showing you, oh, this amount of people just died. And then the first picture you see, for whatever reason, the first picture I was seeing was people taking out body bags, in this white suit that we are supposed to be wearing. And I honestly, but hey, we're alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing because I swear down with that thing that you are wearing with the shoe, you have to be even grateful because every minute when I grab my pillow, I say, Jesus Christ, with this coronavirus, with this the other one, the new variants, I hate it so much. So you are even lucky that you work on the front line and you are being protected. It was me every time. Even now. I want to even start dressing like the way Muslim dress, but because I'm not Muslim, I can't dress like that, I want to go everywhere when I'm going out. This is not a joke.
But I think if there's anything that I've learned with the coronavirus, I've learned to be much more grateful. I've learned to be much more grateful. You're not even for anything, just grateful for life, grateful for family support, grateful for friends. Because I remember when the whole thing first started, my older sister as well, she works in the front line as well. And we used to call ourselves almost every day and stuff. But then suddenly, because of the nature of our jobs, and she lives here in the UK, well, not in the same country as me, but like in England. But suddenly, I began to crave to want to see her, But then, you don't realize, how they say you don't realize what you have until you lose it. Does that make sense? Yeah. And I remembered, like I would, I'll call my sister. We stopped doing the phone call. We'll do more video calls because we wanted to see ourselves, and it was kind of interesting because we'll talk about it. She works in a hospital. So, she sees like firsthand, right? For me, I've worked with families where, we've gone to work with families. There's been people who's contacted it. Some never made it back. Some never pulled through. Some pulled through. We get to see the reality. I remember there's a grandparent of one of the families I work with. She had it. And I knew her before she had the coronavirus. Her breathing is never the same.
Okay. Yeah.
So, when you go, you just kind of, I think because I'm in the front line myself, because of the nature of my job, you see the reality. 1 minute, these children have got their parents, and the next minute, something had happened. I mean, even away from coronavirus, in children and families, sometimes maybe parents have got illness, right? And something just happened, and then you're getting that phone call, oh, this so and so has died. You now need to go and place the children. It's something that it numbs your emotions.
Yeah.
The kind of job I do is more of a relationship building job. Yes, social work is social work, but it's more.
Yeah, but with your section, with your department, is it children in needs, or you are in child protection, or? But if you don't feel like disclosing it, don't.
No. For children and family, there are different things that we do. There are a lot of, we cut across. So we work with children with disability, child protection. Usually when you're in children and family, you're cutting across all that anyway.
Oh, yeah, you are.
The thing is, like unlike adults, which, I mean, suppose there are things, but unlike adults, like for children, the dreaded news you want is something has gone wrong at home. Because it means, those children are vulnerable. You've got to look for, how to work. But it's even more dreadly when the phone call comes and says, oh, a child, maybe a child calls and says, for talking sake, maybe a child phones and says, Wura, I just want to call you. My mom is not waking up. That is quite, So, you know what I mean? And then it's not just that phone call, it's obviously having to step in, now look for placement. And again, for instance, bringing it back to the will thing, if we knew that there was a will, you're able to look at, okay, in social work, we call that the contingency plan. So assuming something goes wrong, who is it that, that can look after the kids? So the first thing we go to look at is, who is that person that has been listed to look after the children? So bringing it back to our own community and tying it into the topic we're talking about, if we had that contingency plan, which is a will in this case, we are able to say, okay, these children, this is where their parents want them to be. And those will be the first people that will be considered, for the placement of the children. So, for instance, assuming in our own case, if we've written our will, it's very clear, where do you want your children to be? Or where has this deceased person want the children to be? And they need to look at that. And until those people are not deemed fit to care for the child, that has to be respected.
Okay.
You understand? And I'm tying it back into the will thing because, again, life happens, right? So, for instance, like the lady I was describing, the what's it called? The Ugandan lady who passed away a few weeks ago.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. The Ugandan lady, she passed away a few weeks ago, and obviously,
was it through the COVID?
Yeah, it was through the COVID. She's a student nurse.
Oh, and how old was she? I'm sorry to ask you that, but
I think the baby is. I'm not sure. The baby is really, really young. Well, not young, but like the child is still a toddler.
Ooh.
So I was just thinking, because I read it in the papers. I don't know the person, but I read it in the papers. And the first thing I asked myself was, the social work in me, I'm like, what's the contingency plan? Because we're saying that the child, there was a talk about not knowing where the child will be placed. And the neighbor had the child, but obviously, I'm assuming the mom maybe did not have a will or contingency plan. You know what I mean? Yeah. But imagine if the mother has had that, it would have been so easy to highlight who the child would care for the child.
Yeah.
And because I know what it looks like myself. Because, for instance, like myself, I lost my dad when I was young. I was 5 when my dad passed away.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So I think it was quite nice that I was privileged to live within my family, right? Now, I'm not saying everybody's like me, but there might be people that had the same circumstances, but they were not able to live within their family. You know what I mean? And what does that mean to that child? Because that child's identity is taken away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there's a lot of unanswered questions. It doesn't mean that because I lived with my own family, mean everything was fine. You know, but it's just, yeah, that bubble, it's different, you know.
Yeah, the sweetness won't be there, like, yeah. But at least you were able to make it through in life. And
Yeah. I mean, I was able, but the point I'm trying to make in all of this is, I suppose I'm assuming, or I suppose that my father had a plan for his children, so we didn't have to be distributed wrongly, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Know?
It
didn't mean that where we went to was perfect. It's just at least his will was respected.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, it's really great having you on board. But looking at it carefully as we talk about will, I mean, even there are some people that, I mean, you shouldn't even consider that they should touch your child or what's not. Because we African, like the Nigeria in you that you are saying, I mean, someone even hates you, then they will touch your child. And there are lots of things that follows up after that. But it's amazing. But that whole issue last night, and I mean throughout this week, that's what I've been thinking about. I said no matter who how, I need to bring it across. And also the music that you like to be, they will play when you are not there. With me, as soon as they play that music, I would appear.
Even the way you dress, even the way they dress you for your funeral, you know, all those little details. Because like my friend, I would always draw my mind, because there's one of this music, The Rhythm of My Heart, that's by Rod Stewart. It was one of the music they played. And I remember, I remember them playing it. And the thing that came to my head was one of the days in the hospital during her last moment. You know, we were dancing. You know, we had it on YouTube and we were like rocking. And I remember her having, like, we were doing the pretentious, what's it called? The pretentious guitar. You know, honestly, we're crack at St. John's Hospital. So, you know, like, we're like, oh, rhythm of my heart, you know, we're like dancing. And stuff like
that. You got a nice voice.
Yeah, oh, thank you. So when they were playing it in a funeral, you know, it was funny because everybody was moving. Because you picture her, like, when they were singing the song and how she would fool around and, you know, and when we as friends were privileged to speak about her, you know, like, I remember saying, I mean, I couldn't feel sad. It was funny, but I didn't feel sad when I was talking about her. Not because I wasn't sad. Obviously, you know, it hit me really, really bad. But I was, I remember when I was speaking about her at the funeral, and I was like, you know, this is just so her. And, you know, like, instead of being sad, I was thinking of the happy moment. Because everything they did in that hall, everything that was in that hall was like she sat there with us.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
With me, when it happened like that, even I'll make it more, because, you know, I'm the kind of person I would like to do things, you know, because I would tell God that, God, give me one more chance, you understand? Even if I'm not coming back. But one thing I'm always saying, that if I die today, anyone who scratches me will join me ASAP. I'll tell God that, God, I beg you, give me a strength to do or work on this. And but my will, I'm not going to forget about my will, because I've thought about it, and it's a great thing I would like to do.
He actually empowers even the people that are left behind, like your loved ones. It does empower them as well. Because like, I remembered my grandmom, my maternal grandmom, she had left a will when she died, right? And she left a will when she died. But even before she died, I think to an extent I could predict what was in her will, because she talked about it, right? And she would say, oh, this will go to this and that will go to that. So she was clear. So to be fair, I think when her will was read, I wasn't surprised at the content of the will. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
You know? So I think having a will allows it brings up conversation, because I remembered, like, my grandmom, there was something she had said And I remember when she was like, before she died, she had talked about, oh, she wants a certain thing to go to a certain person. And I asked her, I was like, Mama, why? You
Yeah.
know? And she was able to explain. So I felt privileged that I
Mm-hmm.
had that piece of information. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's very, very important, It's something that I would consider that everyone needs to look into. But I believe right now, as I'm speaking to you, if I walk and I go and speak to someone, he says, "Excuse me, do you actually look like someone I'm going to die today?" Don't tell me that. Me, I'm going to write it and also make sure. I'm going to also choose the music, everything accordingly, because that
I think it's about education as well. When I say education, I don't mean mainstream education. Sometimes, right? One thing I've discovered, not just our people, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not fair to just hold our people only to it. Even the white, some of them don't believe in a will, right? But the thing is, I think education. So when I say education, I'm using that very loosely. It's not about going to school, because you can be educated and be an illiterate, right?
Definitely. There are lots of them.
Yeah, it's about, I think, education in the sense of mindset. Who are the people that you hang around with, right? Who are the people that you have discussions with? Because there's one thing, I remember when I came to UK, when I came to settle down in the UK, my mom of blessed memory, I remember we had a conversation, and the first thing she said to me was, you see, the people you mingle with when you arrive anywhere will either make or break you.
Definitely.
Right? And at that time, I have to be honest, at the time, I didn't even understand what she was saying. So I just thought, this woman, these African mothers, they've come with their problem again. Because of the way she said it, you understand? Because me, naturally, I'm a happy-go-lucky person, right? So, and she said, it's really important. And you know what I discovered? I really learned a lot over the years. I came to the country 2003, right? There are a lot of things that I have been privileged to know, because naturally I'm a curious person, right? But not curious in a bad way. I'm naturally, I want to know. I always want to improve my knowledge. And I'm quite mindful of the people in my circle. I'm very mindful of that. I can count my friends on the tip of my fingers.
Yeah.
Right? I have
one second, please. But I'll be one of your friends anyway. Don't worry. Viewers, we're going to end this show in about 6 minutes, which is 5:30. So we're going to let Sister our social worker in the UK, Miss Oweri, to speak. Okay, but don't forget also, this is OY Media in Scotland. Bamiola has been presenting the show, and Miss Oweri. Okay, if I don't mention that properly, don't use the gaze, please. All right, please go ahead.
I'd love to connect with you. I mean, you can get my number and everything. We can have a talk after this. Now,
you're a nice sister now.
Yeah. So the point I was trying to make is, when we come to a place, the knowledge, if we mix with people, it's always good to know the kind of friends you have. It's good to know the kind of knowledge you share. So for me, I have African friends and I also have Western friends. I have friends of the host community. Now, there are things that maybe I'm lost with, and I know the right person to ask, because I know the people within my circle. If that makes sense. So say for instance, like if I wanted to understand how the system works, I know who to contact. I know which of my friends I could speak to that will guide me on the specific information I need. Right?
Which is very, very important.
Yeah. So for instance, like the will, for instance, if you are hanging around people who don't believe in it, your mindset is focused on not believing in it. Right? But if you hang around people who are quite open-minded, right? Because you need to be open-minded in a lot of things. I mean, even with this COVID conversation, for instance, there are a lot of conversations around the COVID, but it's understanding what it really is. A lot of people, it could be ignorance,
Yeah.
So, like when it comes to the will, we can have our PhDs and masters and whatever it is that we have, but we need to learn. We need to be streetwise, street educated.
Definitely.
And once you're street educated, you can't go wrong. You don't have to behave like a hoodlum. You can't go wrong, in being street educated, because a lot of things that knowledge is power, they say. and power of knowledge. So yeah.
And God is, in the Bible is saying that lack of knowledge, my people perish. Like when you were talking about the injection, some people will say that, oh, the injection will kill you. The injection will do this.
Like I said, I had the injection. I didn't even because I was so conscious of it, right? The next day, it was so funny. Yeah, I need to say this before so that people can laugh at me. The next day, I remembered waking up. Yeah, I'm actually touching the place because that's the hand. So the next day, because people were like, oh, you would be energetic or you would have headache or stuff. You have aches. And the woman, the African in me. So when I went to bed, I decided to sleep on that side. Right? And then when I woke up in the morning, I couldn't feel pain. And I remember calling one of my colleagues at work. I said, I thought you said you had pain the next day. Me, I'm not feeling pain. What's wrong?
Yeah.
And he was busted up in stitches. He was in stitches.
Yeah.
Said, were you expecting to have pain? I said, am I normal? Because everybody's saying they had pain the second day. I didn't have pain.
Yeah. Give me 1 sec, okay? Give me 1 sec. Hold on, viewers. I'm coming back, please. Right, viewers, welcome back to the show. My sisters, I'm sorry that I walked away, and you are the social worker in the UK. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, like I told you that we're going to end the show around 5:30 prompt, but it was so great having you on board.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, even you were about to say something, and I say, hold on, am I correct? You say where you slept when you had your injection.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. So so I had, of course, I was quite mindful because everybody was some of my colleagues, they're talking about and they said, oh, I had pain the next day, blah, blah. But the reality is I take vaccine, right? And I don't react, I don't react to anything. To be honest, I don't like injections, but I prefer it than medication because I can't be bothered. I'll probably forget about taking medication. So when the vaccine was talked about, I just thought, well, I'll take that because if they tell us to take medication, I probably would not even keep to it. I probably would miss it. But the vaccine, I always love injection. Even when I was young, when I'm sick, I prefer injection because I know it's maybe 2-3 days of pain. And take it 2-3 days and then everything is fine.
Yeah.
So, I think because it was in my head that everybody was in pain, and then sometimes you open the social media and you see people with rashes after taking the vaccine. They had rashes, quote and unquote, right? Because we have single story. So quote and unquote, they say they have rashes and stuff. And I remember reading it and I thought, so when I took the vaccine, there's one of my friends who is a medical doctor who posted, oh, people had what's the name? People had rashes. And I posted on my social media and I said, all the conspiracy theory about the vaccine, I don't really understand because I don't know what the shout is all about. I just took it and
I know. Some people say that when you take the vaccine, you will die, which is impossible. Because I've known lots of people also who have had it, and even together with you. Someone might say maybe you eat too much about, or maybe you are very strong, But I don't think it's as serious as they think.
I don't know anybody. I have to be honest. I know people who have taken it. And of all the people I know that have taken it, nobody has reacted. So and one thing I always say is, I think the government obviously understands the liability they have to clear if they didn't do their checks properly. But one thing I don't agree with is people going to take the vaccine and going to do videos of them taking it. And I'm like, why? Why do you need a video to show that you're taking vaccine? But everybody can be Wura and Wura can be everybody.
But you did well. You did well, and it's so great having you on show. And you are a super, I mean, social worker, I can say, and you know how to speak very well. But thank you so much for coming on the show. But don't forget also, this is OY Media, so people should always tune in into OY Media. And thank you so much. And I mean, you can mention your name again to the people.
My name is Wura. Well, just call me Wura. It's easier that way.
Yeah, it's Wura, all the way from Scotland, and she's a great social worker. So thank you so much
for having me. Yeah,
thank you.
To connect with you. Yeah,
definitely. I'm going to send you my number, but I love you so much. All right.
Thank you. Bye.
You are my superstar, and also the viewers. We thank you so much. But sorry, we couldn't mention your names. All right, forgive me. But without you guys, we can't even move or can't even breathe. Thank you very much. But don't forget, OY Media is #1. Every Saturday, I'm here at 4:00 prompt, and also my show is Last One Reload. I do appreciate all of you. But next week we're going to, come out with the figures of people who have not written their will. Okay, but thank you so much and stay blessed. But don't forget, I'm your last one. OY Media is super. But also don't forget, if you want any advert, click onto OY Media and also speak to them. We are here to connect you. Thank you so much. Have a great week and also happy weekend to you. Thank you, and we will see you soon. OY Media is the best. On your screen.
Abazire banja barungi nyowe kabire akari Yesu wanje obusinjo bumwine nyowe kabire akari Yesu wanje akazara kumire nkakire akari Yesu wanje akarima kwako mwine okakire akari Yesu buzima yakasenta kumwine nkakire akari Yesu wanje abana bozire okabire akari Yesu wawe omukazo wine okamwire akari Yesu buzima omusizo wine okamwire akari Yesu mazima